Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Murph Codes Python. Whoop. There we go. Forgot to switch that out. Yes, I'm playing Majora's Mask. I said I was gonna do a Majora's Mask run through in celebration of the title coming to the expansion pack for Nintendo Switch online service, which is in 2 days. So, I've been refamiliarizing myself with the game. It's been a little while since I played it. Not too long, but a little while. We're almost done with Metroid Other M, thankfully. So, that's what's going on in my other projects. Last night, we had a podcast recording session. Zeph's back. We had to change up the hours, though, so it's now super late at night when we record that here. Apparently, she's allergic to sunlight or something. I don't know. Thinking the aliens turned her into a vampire or something. Anyway, so I've had to change up the schedule a little bit. Today, also had to change up the schedule a little bit because another snow day. Snow day yesterday, full cancellation. We got hit with a blizzard. Another one. The weather this winter has just been super uncooperative. Today, school was 2 hours late. 2 hour late start so that they could have a chance to plow the roads. So those kids out in the country could catch a bus to get into class. And because that 2 hour late start puts me out of the house at exactly the time that I would be normally kicking off one of these code sessions, I did have to push it back an hour. Not quite a full hour, but we did have to push it back. Let's see. In news, the amazing Jonathan passed away. Just found that out this morning. This is tragic news because, one of my hobbies is magic. I'd like to be a professional magician one of these days. And the amazing Jonathan was a bit of an influence for me, getting back into it. Probably not as big an influence as some others, but his act did contain some elements that were unique I found particularly inspiring, and it's just it's a real sad day that he's passed away. So, rest in peace, amazing Jonathan. He struggled with heart disease, uh, drug addiction, all kinds of different things. So, it's not super surprising that he passed, but it's still tragic, So, I'm in a little bit of a bummer mood this morning. I'm not gonna lie, but I didn't want to miss another code session because we're almost done with our graphic user interface project. I mean, I'm pretty confident we can solve the last remaining issues that we have with it today if we just hunker down and actually get into it. Now, for those of you who have been following this series, at the start of it, I promised we would get into graphic user interfaces for mobile devices as well. TK Inter, which we've been using so far, not cross-platform, sadly. At least not for all devices. It is available for all desktops, laptops, actual, like what you would think of when you think computer. But for mobile devices, for your phones, you're going to want to use something else. You're going to want to use Kyvie. I looked at Kyvie again this morning to see if, by any chance, they have released a new update, and unfortunately, no. The last stable version of Python that they support is 3.9. We're using 3.10, so there still isn't a good version of Kyvie for us to be using. We'll have to install Python 3.9 in order to go forward using that. And we will get to doing some Kyvie development. I want to show you all how to make graphic user interfaces for your phones too, because I know not everybody's got a computer. I know not everybody's got a laptop or desktop that they have access to, whether it's a Mac or a PC or a Linux box. It's it's the modern age. People are doing a lot more on their phones. So if you're looking at building software for phones is probably going to be the future of things. I mean, let's just face facts. It certainly became the future of digital photography and photography in general. When I first got interested in photography, film cameras were the thing. Digital cameras were barely even, a twinkle in, tech developers' eyes. And I grew up with 35 millimeter film. Used to have little canisters all over the dang place. I even learned how to use a 35 millimeter camera, setting the ISO, the film speed, setting the aperture, adjusting the shutter speed, compensating for the light, using a light meter. Like I've had like a full education in photography with film. It wasn't really until high school and later in high school that digital cameras became all the rage. But when they took off like gangbusters. They were everywhere. Best I could ever afford, though, were the ridiculous point-and-click variety. Not exactly the level I've been looking for in a digital camera, because I still like the ability to set the resolution, set the shutter speed, set the aperture setting, manually focus the lenses, all of that stuff, because that's where you are able to do your composition, at least your in-camera composition. Now, in the age of digital, it's become a lot less of a process uh, to um, to develop your your film, and you can do a lot more with it using software and stuff because it's all digital. There is no film. There is no hard copy that you have to process before you can even see what your result is. Um, it's all instantaneous now, and uh, data is cheap. A memory card can be wiped clean and reused numerous times. You don't have to send it in for special processing because it's color film and you don't have a darkroom set up for, for color processing, that kind of thing. Um, you don't have to take your whole afternoon working with the enlargers and whatnot and your film paper you know, just to get to your result. It's all instantaneous. Uh, I'm excited though because um, this year I'm going to treat myself to a fancy new digital camera, something that has the features that I'm actually looking for. Professional quality, be able to set resolution, be able to set shutter speed, set aperture, manually focus, all that fun stuff. Um, Gone are the days of, my point and click uh, little cheapo cameras. I'm getting back into photography, and I'm excited for that. Um, However, what's been filling that void for me these past, you know, decade and a half, it's pretty much been the camera that's on my phone. And, like, I never found the phone camera to be much better than the point and click digital cameras. But because everybody wound up with a phone in their pocket, we all now run around with cameras in our pocket. So everybody can be a photographer. Everybody's got a camera in their pocket. Everybody's also got a computer in their pocket. So we're all developers too. It's a very weird world we're starting to live in. But we have to start thinking about the world in that way. Um, so one thing we're going to be doing at some point is we are going to be getting into uh, writing Python code for our phones. We're going to take this same graphic user interface we've developed here. We're going to make a cell phone version of it. I believe most of the code should still work. Probably not this part because this is all, TK Inter. We're going to have to rewrite all of this. But, this bad boy, the original, the Cruddy Buddy object, this will probably still be useful. I know when I'm using CuPython on my phone, the file writer, file reader, all of these functions that we have here, they still work. They still behave just like you would expect. So, that will still be useful for us. What we need to rewrite, though, will be the interface. Before we get to that, though, I do want to cover sockets so that we have an understanding of network programming. Because when we get to Kyvie, we're going to have to start to talk about uh, virtual environments, because we're going to be using libraries that are not part of the standard Python library. And when you start working with packages outside of the standard library, you want to set yourself up with an environment that is specific for your project. Oh, excuse me. I just had a bit of a lunch before I kicked off this stream. Anyway, um, the reason why you want to do that, the reason why you want to set up a virtual environment, is so that you're not having conflicts with other projects that you're developing. Because, if you start getting good at this, you start enjoying this kind of work, it won't be long before you have 6 or 7 projects going on at a time. And depending upon what these projects are, you may be working with different versions of these external third-party packages. And you don't want to have all of your time preoccupied with, maintaining your library of various versions of, you know, of the third-party software that you're having to incorporate into your projects. You want to be able to focus on your own code. You want to be able to get that done. And you don't want any conflicts with any other projects you may be working on that may be using similar packages but at a different version number. Reason why you'd want to maintain different versions of a package instead of just updating everything to the newest one is because sometimes those packages, they change the way that they work. And the code you've written may have to change. And every time you update, you may have to alter your code to fit the new syntax, the new standards, the new whatever. And rather than have to keep doing that for all of your projects all of the time, virtual environments allow you to set up so that you're working with the expected version of Python, the expected version of the third-party package that you've installed that you're using for your software. And it keeps it nice and contained for that project. That way when you go in and start a new project with the latest version of whatever, or an older version because there's a feature or something that works a different way, and you prefer how it worked previously, something like that, it's not going to affect your other projects. We'll learn how to do that before we get into Kyvie. We'll also get into Pygame after we deal with all of that, because those things, Pygame's also a third-party library, third-party package. And that may require an even different version of Python. I haven't checked into that one to see what's supported or not. I don't know if Pygame works with Python 3.10. We may have to go back to Python 2.7 for that. I'm hoping not, but who knows? Not a whole lot will change with the fundamental code that we wrote originally to start the project, though. Because we're not taking advantage of any new features or anything. This is all pretty standard stuff. Has been standard for quite a while, too. Most of this would probably even work with Python 2.7. except for when we get down here and we have our print statements, we'd want to change those. Get rid of the parentheses. I don't know if... Did we use the formatting lines? No, we used this style with the parentheses and the percent signs. But if we had used format lines, where we start a string with F, and then we fill in the variables, I don't know at what version number that started working. So I don't know where our compatibility begins and ends with that, but I know we're doing a lot of that with the interface stuff. Yeah, like this right here. This is a formatted string. If we went 2.7 for our Python version, we'd probably have to consider changing that. I don't know if 2.7 supports that. But that's all down the road. That's all way off in the future. We're going to get to that stuff. This is going to be our last Python session for a little while. I know I said we'd be getting into sockets, and then we'd, go on to the Kyve and Pygame, but we are going to take a break from Python for a little while, and I'm going to talk about web development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Going to give you a real quick primer on how to set up your HTML documents, how to connect them to a cascading style sheet, so that depending upon the various devices that you're looking at your web page through, it looks the way that you would want it to. So we're going to talk about responsive design. We're going to talk about the document object model and how to manipulate the elements on your page with not only CSS and the styling, but with JavaScript. Really be able to change things up. Really be able to make your web pages more interactive. I wanted to go with dynamic, but in order to do truly dynamic web pages, you need a server that can run scripts on the back end. What's that mean? It means that the server serving up the page is putting certain information in the page for you as a result of programming that you're running on the server's side of things. PHP is a good example of that. PHP is a companion language to HTML. Regular web pages that don't have any sort of dynamic nature to them just serve up simple HTML. They can still be interactive with JavaScript elements embedded in the page. They can still be responsive in their design with CSS. You don't need any server-side processing to make these things happen. This is all in the browser. But if you wanted to do things like, have sessions where a user logs in and you see their username up in the corner and they can access their account information and data that's pertinent specifically to them, such as their history with, your website, those kind of elements would require processing on the back end so that information is implemented in the page that's served up to the customer, to the client. We'll talk more about that, though, when we get into web development. We'll show you where that distinction is. We'll also show you some really cool stuff that you can do with just, making some simple web pages. And we'll even make some games, hopefully. We're going to be jumping back and forth between JavaScript and Python. I do a lot of work with both. And for some projects, JavaScript is pretty fun. For other projects, I do prefer Python. It's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, web development is great and all. You can do a lot with it. Nowadays, a lot of apps are really just uh, web pages, essentially. So you could design your entire app as a web page and probably get the same result as if you designed, a full-on app. Wouldn't even have to work with, dealing with the Apple Store nonsense or anything. You would just have your users visit a web page. They could do the add to home option on the web page, and anytime they need to use your app, they just click that, and it's boom, there's your app. I'm not going to get into React. I am not going to get into Node. I'm, and the reason for that is because I don't actually do a lot with those personally. Um, a lot of people like these libraries that kind of shortcut things for you. They change up the uh, the way you work with your JavaScript, um, and the way you work with your CSS and such things, so that it's supposed to speed up your workflow. It's supposed to make developing your websites quicker and easier, and you can make bigger and more impressive things. I've never really found that to be the case because I'm usually sitting through like 8 hours of tutorial just to figure out how to get the garbage to work with my own code. And it's like, in that time, I could have probably just made the whole finished product with, you know, tried and true, you know, simple JavaScript and whatnot. Like, it might not be as pretty. I mean, I'd have to take more time to make it look the way that I want it to, but I could have something done with the time that it's taking me to refresh myself on how React does things. And yeah, I've never really been a fan of those sort of libraries. I prefer my HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to be plain old HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Um, I know I'm old fashioned. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's the outmoded method of doing things. Is it really, though? I mean, you still have to learn how to do it that way before you can really get into learning how to properly use React and stuff. I mean, you could take a tutorial on React and stuff, probably skip over all that other stuff, but when something breaks down, you're going to be, stranded not knowing how to fix it. Whereas me, I could build the whole thing from the ground up without React at all. So, there's that. And React's not the only one out there. There's all kinds of different libraries out there. They come and go with the latest trends, it seems. So I don't usually concern myself too much with those because, again, I code for myself. I don't code for other people. I don't code for Google. I don't code for Facebook. If you want to code for some big tech company, it's probably going to be worth your time to learn the latest libraries. But before you get into learning those, you're going to want to learn the basics. And a good, strong foundation in those uh, isn't too hard to cultivate. It really isn't. So, I'll be probably showing you how to do all that next week. or at least starting next week. So now that we've had the really long bringing you up to speed on everything, let's take a look at what we've accomplished here. Alright, so we can open this up. However, we've got some weirdness here. I don't understand this weirdness. So, we're going to try a couple of things, and we're going to see... Because one of the things that's bothering me is the layout of this. Like, why is this 3 jogged over a little bit? It should be flush with the rest of this. Is it inserting a space there? Because for some reason that one is reading as a number where the rest of them are reading as a string. And what would cause that? So, let's take a look here. One of the other things we want to do is we want to change it so that displaying this information updates pretty much every time we do anything. And in order to do that, we're better off with a function that is called after we've run any of our other things. So, where do we have our... Am I just blind? I'm probably blind. Okay, here we go. First thing I want to do. We're going to try tabbing over twice. Well, first, we're going to tab over once. Here. And then we're going to tab over twice. There. Now, what's that going to do? It should take this, and it should move it over to here. I know that's kind of a severe jump. But what I want to do is I want to test to see if we can put this in line. So, and I want to see if that cleans it up. And we're going to double tab all of our records instead of single tab. Because I am pretty sure that whatever our issue is, the first problem we're dealing with here, this one here, with these being in line, may have something to do with the size of the information that we're putting in. I don't know if double tapping is going to fix that or not, but it will put more room between them. So, Let's take a look at what that does. Close that. And it probably won't have the intended effect. And we did move that over. Alright. We still don't have our records in line, though. So... still jogs that over one. I don't know why. See, it's inserting our tab here, though. So it's got to be something in the way that the box that we're using here works. So let's remove the double tab. That doesn't seem like it's going to fix anything for us. Did I add that one? I don't remember. Let's see. Alright. So, where do we have this? This is self list box. Where is my list box? List box is... Here we go. Records is a label. Okay. So, what I'm doing here is basically just checking out Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is sometimes a good place to get answers for why things work the way they do. Other times it can be an absolute nightmare, and I don't recommend it. But what we're discovering here is label has an anchor property that gives your text a reference point. So instead of trying to align justified, no, still didn't quite solve our issue here. That 3 still jogs out a little. There is no space before the 3, so I don't know why there seems to be one there. Well, no, we should put that after the string. After we stringify it, because if we put it on the number itself, that's not going to make any sense. And what the strip function should do is remove any blank space, but that doesn't seem to be our problem either. Let's see if we can at least be uniform and add a space to everything. Since we can't remove the space, see if we can kick them all over at least one. No. Okay. And also that's not the proper escape clause for a space character, apparently. W3 schools is another good example. For references. Yeah, I'm still not getting why it's not cooperating with us. Alright, so let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. That does not fix our issue. Alright, is everything back to where it's supposed to be? That's back to where it's supposed to be. That's at least back to where it was. Still can't figure out why it's throwing a space there in front of the 3. Now, one way we could handle this, instead of making this just one giant list box, is we could make this display as a list of text boxes, individual, for each bit of data. Each thing has its own box. Given that, we would probably want to throw them all inside of a frame that gets stamped onto this window here. And within that frame, probably use the grid content manager. And that would ensure everything gets spaced out perfectly. I don't know if it would take care of this weird space issue, though. I don't know where this space is coming from. There shouldn't be a space there. There just shouldn't. Now that's going to require a little bit of complex development. But considering this is our solution so far. Because this is where we're updating that stuff that goes here. And honestly, I don't like that. Alright, what the file open should do is it should set the Cruddy Buddy object to the new file. And then it should call the function that updates this visual, rather than handling that part itself. Okay, because when we do deleting records, when we do editing records, when we add new records, every single one of those should end up calling that function after the work's been done to update this, to reflect that new information. So that should also be removed. because this is our headers and our record box, which shouldn't be there. It's not displaying the way we want it to. This is what we're using to update that, and I don't like how that's being handled, so we're going to take that out. And then here's that part again repeated. We've already commented it out, but I still want to highlight it. And that's what I'm doing here with the triple hashtags. It's just highlighting it. I'm not actually commenting anything out or attempting to comment anything out. Oh, okay. But we definitely want to be handling this a different way. And depending upon how much time this takes, this may not actually end up being our last Python session. Alright, so we need a new function. What it's going to do is it's going to update the contents of a frame. We'll have a list of text boxes. Non-editable, disabled. I mean, kind of grayed out, but not really grayed out. Maybe no border. For the headers. And then list of lists containing record data as text boxes. All aligned to a grid. And the data cells will be set, the width of those will be set by the headers. Or at the header level. We're going to have to set a default size. Probably. All right. So, first thing we want to do is we want to put a frame here. So let's comment this part out. All right. There we go. Everything else should still work. All right, there's no displaying of the records. And that's fine. that's okay. In fact, name, color, fluffiness. Max. Tan. It's light. We still have to make that go away too. Okay, now what would happen after we get our crap together and get this to display properly is that would show us this. All of our data seems to be there. Okay? So we're still good. Let's go with 3, because that seems to be our problematic one. Dave, brown, fat. Is that the third one? 1, 2, 3. Dave, brown, fat. Yes. We have an extra space there. I don't think we added that, though. That still doesn't go away properly. Okay, now I'm curious. Do you understand why I want to rage quit at this moment and throw the thing out the window? We managed to fix the third record, but See, it still throws a space at the end of that one. Do we still have a space at the end of... We have a space at the end of that one as well. Why? There shouldn't be a space there. I don't understand this. I truly don't understand this. It's throwing in a space where there is no space at the beginning, but also at the end. But only sometimes. Only sometimes. However, that information is clean when printed in the command line. Ugh. Okay, so we're still going to take that out because that's still not an ideal way of doing this because it's too weird. It's leaving a lot of weird and a lot of unanswered questions. And also, it makes it really hard to do anything. Like, it bothers the OCD. And not the, you know, that the little bit of OCD-ishness in all of us. Where things being just off bother us. Not the level where we're psychotic or anything. Or, you know, need therapy. Or have to take medication to manage it. And the anxiety of things being out of place is ruining our lives. But it's ruining the aesthetic of our app. So we do want to deal with it. Now, everywhere we are going to be calling this function. Its output is going to be the same. It's going to... It's going to call a frame. Now, the thing that I'm curious about is unloading the stuff in the frame. what would I even call that? Uh, okay. That answers that question. Because that's the first step for this. We're going to want to erase everything that's in that frame. Brr. I am cold all of a sudden. Somebody leave a door open or something somewhere? Alright, I think we're going to keep that tab around for a little while because it seems to have some related context that may help us later. Oh, what are we going to call this thing? Display? Display box? Yeah, sure, why not? What are we using here? Place is what we're using. What's our window geometry? 500 by 320? No, that's our new... how big is our window? Okay. We'll go 7. We'll go 640. Where is our frame at? We're gonna leave quite a bit of room. Let's see. We have our buttons at 500, so we'll go 480. Zero. Doesn't seem to be any issues so far. Let's try giving it a border. We want to be able to see where it's at. For now. Huh. Okay. So. There we go. Now it's visible. Now we can see the stupid thing. Alright. And that gives us a better idea of what our display is going to look like. Right? Now, one of the nice things about going with a frame instead of just tacking it right onto the window itself is we should be able to add scroll bars. Here we go. So, we'll add scroll bars. We'll set this to the actual dimensions of the window. That'll give us more control. We'll be able to adjust where these buttons are so that they're better located. Where did my... That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Let's see here. What's the proper format for that? Container. Whoop. TTK scroll bar. Wait a second. Ah, okay. Yeah, they're using that. We can just do scroll bar, I believe. Pretty sure. And let's see, we want to scroll the x-axis, so this will be horizontal. Don't know if that's going to work, but we'll try it. See if we can get a scroll bar example from somewhere other than where we're at. GUI. See, this was what I was questioning right here. Okay, so we have that. And H and V are the scroll bars being used there. Okay. So thing, only this time we're using Y. Okay. We'll use that. We're just going to straight copy that. Take out these extra spaces because we're not using spaces between everything like that. Okay, so what's going on here? We create the scroll bars. Alright, we have to do it twice because we need side to side and up and down. Now, when we use the scroll bar, we're calling the X view and the Y view. I think. We should probably do this as well. Wrap. None. Except we're not using H and V, we're using scroll X. And scroll Y. Alright. Now the only difference here is we're not calling this, we're not defining our own scroll bar class. And then creating it. We're not going through all that. What we are doing though is we are calling the individual scroll bars. We are adding them to our frame. With these, we're setting the functionality of our scroll bars. So if you're scrolling in the window, or you're scrolling on, or you're sliding the scroll bar slider. What do we got here? Oh, I know what I did. I know what I did. I think. I may have to put these inside the frame, though. Maybe. Because I'm probably doing that wrong. We'll find out. Save, run. Okay. Alright, so what we're probably going to want to do is extend the frame class one more time. And then add our scroll bars within that. For now, let's try getting rid of those. See if that fixes anything. No wrap option? Fine, we'll get rid of the wrap option. Frame object doesn't have an X view. Well, now that I find a little hard to believe. All right. Let's just do away with all of this extra stuff. We might not even need it. I don't know. Oop. Really? Am I using the wrong... Yeah, I'm using the wrong one. It's orient. Okay, we now have scroll bars, but our window is like next to nothing in size. Because our width and height aren't doing anything. So, for now, because I would like to actually have some space here. Okay. Now, here's the part where we're probably going to take frame and move it into its own thing. Basically extend the frame class, because we want to add the headers and records lists to our frame object, to our frame widget. But we want them to be properties of the frame widget itself. So we want to be able to stop working here in main window and work with that as a part of its own object. We're also going to make that updating function where it cross-checks all of the information from the file and redisplays it as part of the the frame itself. Now, what's going to be cool with that is we can make these scroll bars conditional, so that they're not always there. They go away when we don't need them, and our frame isn't, you know, isn't preoccupied with those, or isn't, filled up with those, if they're not needed. And how we do that is we'll have the frame height and width as a property of the frame itself. We'll know how big each data cell is going to be, so it can calculate the math and do the data cells extend beyond the X width of the frame. If so, add a horizontal scroll bar. Does it extend beyond the Y height of the frame? Add a vertical scroll bar if it does. So, we can make all that conditional. Oh, having trouble staying awake at this point. Yeah. Cumulated? That's not how you spell cumulated. I can't spell. Ugh, I'm getting really tired. Yeah, I'll understand what that means. I hope. Okay. So yeah, this is going to take another session. So we're not going to move on to JavaScript next week. Probably the week after, maybe. Assuming that my crazy little plan for this thing actually works. We'll see. But we're going to make the frame object. We're going to populate the frame object with text boxes for the data cells based on the file information. And yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a thing. I have to look up if we want to use the grid content manager or if we'd be better off using a for loop in place, or maybe even pack will be the better option for us here. I don't know. We'll figure that out. That will take care of most of what we need to do. The other problem we need to take care of is getting our extra windows when we open a new window for like adding a file or creating a file or updating a record, getting those to close when we're done with them. I believe those are the only issues that we have left to deal with. So, we're about 2 hours in. I do have to go get my son here in a couple of hours, but I also need a nap before he's done with school because I am super tired. Usually, I have enough time when he doesn't have a late start that I can do a coding session and then take a nap and then go get him. But in order to do that today, I do have to cut this short, and I definitely need one because we're starting to encroach on my nap time. Yeah. We do have a clearer idea of where we want to go with this. You know how we're doing in our records here. Where's our record window? Record window. You know how we have these lists that control the widgets and how many text boxes we have. We're going to essentially do the same thing, but with a frame on our main window. Alright, and we're going to populate this with text boxes that will hopefully be a uniform size. So that we don't have to worry about constantly having to tinker with the alignment of things. The only worry that I have going forward from here is that with our record box, with our record window, when we update records, add new record, that kind of thing, it wouldn't let us use place. We had to use pack. I don't know why it was giving us such a hard time. I don't know why it's like, no, you can only use pack. I don't know why it wasn't giving us any other option than that. But I'll try to do a little digging, see if that's a thing we can expect this time around. Hopefully it isn't. Hopefully we can just do the alignment work that we want to properly display the data from our files so that it's all neatly aligned. Keep in mind this is basically just going above and beyond what we were doing. Because our program was working. It's just if we were not trying to be so OCD about everything. Like, our program still has all of that functionality. It still works. It still does everything. It's just not as pretty as we want it to be. What we're trying to do is design a prettier display. That's it. So this is technically going above and beyond what we set out to do. Because we didn't need this to be pretty. This is for our own use. You know? And as it stands, where it is right now, this is totally useful. This is totally something we can work with. It's completely acceptable. It's trash for anyone who's looking to do professional level development, but that was never our goal. Okay, that was never our intention. Um, as far as our program being what we set out to do, though, we're there. It's exactly what we set out for. We have achieved our goal. Now it's just making it prettier to satisfy our own weird little, you know, uh, need for the design aesthetic to be better. Visually present the data in a way that doesn't look like trash, you know? Um, because sadly, this looks like trash. You know, this is not pretty. It's actually quite ugly. It is functional, though. It is functional. So we do technically have a working program here. But because we can clean it up, because we can make it look better, we're going to try. I wish I had more energy than I have today for this, but I don't have the energy for it. And I'm going to need to rest up a little bit before I go get my kid from school because I need to have energy that at least comes close to matching his when he gets home. And right now I am dragging butt, super tired. So I definitely need a nap. I definitely need a nap. And trying to brute force my way through the solution that we've come up with. Not going to be a good use of my time or yours. There's going to be a lot of weirdness, but we have a plan in place to move forward. And that's good. That's a great place to start. We'll extend the frame object, give it the properties we need it to have, so that we can add lists of data cells and then populate the frame with those lists. Same way we did with the record window. Hopefully, we'll solve the content manager difficulty we had with the record window. Hopefully, we won't have the same problem because we're just adding a frame to the main window. We're not adding it to a new window. I don't know if that'll make a difference. I don't know if it'll even care. But we'll see. Hopefully this solution works. If not, we'll just have to deal with looking at this poorly aligned, awful text grid. What are we doing the rest of the week? Tomorrow, we are hopefully beating Metroid Other M. Far as I know, we just have the home stretch to Mother Brain to deal with. We get the power bomb practically right at the very end of the game. Like, it's weird. We still have to pick up the power bomb but we're almost done with the game. We have, like, one more boss fight, and we're done, you know? I'm not going to worry about 100% item collection completion stuff. We've already put 10 hours into the game. Um, I'm not concerned about unlocking everything or getting the best ending or whatever for that one. I just want to get done with it so we can move on to the better titles in the franchise. So, hopefully tomorrow, assuming no late start, assuming I have plenty of time to do so, we are finishing Metroid Other M. Friday, we are back to playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We have finished the Korok Seed Hunt. So, it'll be finishing up the compendium, attempting to get the missing horse armor that we still have yet to pick up, because there's still 2 sets of horse armor we're missing. And, let's see, what else do we need? What else do we need? That's it, I think. I mean, unless I want to try to track down all of the locations on the map that I'm missing, but I don't know. I don't know where they are. Because we're missing like 0.6% of the map in order for the game itself to call it 100% done. But we're not going by the in-game 100%. We're going by our own 100%, and that means completing all of the collection stuff, getting 100% of the items, finding 100% of the various collectibles that are in the game, beating all of the quests, beating all of the side quests, um, beating all of the DLC content. We pretty much have done all of that. The only thing we're missing is the compendium entries and the horse armor. So we'll do that. Then we're still probably going to have at least one more session of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild where we play around with the physics a bit. Probably try to, exploit some of the glitches that people have found, see if we can replicate those. Basically, we're just going to have fun. Break the game if we can. Get into whatever trouble we can get into. And the reason for that is we're done. I mean, we have an open world environment with amazing physics, beautiful graphics, and like we're completely OP at this point. We could do whatever we want within that realm. So let's go crazy. Let's get nuts. Saturday, I'm going to try to do another public domain horror movie. I have to be conscious for that, though. And also, I have to be up for it. We missed last weekend, I think it was. Yeah. But I was a bit under the weather, so, I just decided, I'm going to go to sleep. Rest was more important than watching a horror movie in the middle of the night on a Saturday. What else do we have going on? Let's see. Monday, assuming we've beaten Metroid Other M, we are going to try and take on either Metroid Prime or Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. I might just do Metroid 2 just because it should be quicker. I mean, the objective there is you find and kill 40 Metroid. It's not a super long game. Made even less long if you have a map. And I have a map. So, we should be okay with that. Um, I don't think I've ever finished that one though. If I did, it was a super long time ago. Super long time ago. Uh, Metroid Prime, I've beaten that one actually a couple of times, but it's been a while since I've played that. It's been a while since I've beaten that. What I do remember about it is the control scheme is a bit weird, so that'll take a little adapting to, a little getting used to. But once you get past the learning curve, that game is a whole lot of fun. It's great. I really do enjoy Metroid Prime. It's honestly what made me genuinely fall in love with the Metroid series. Because I played, growing up, I played some Metroid. I played Metroid 2. And they were alright, but they just didn't have, like, the appeal of, say, Legend of Zelda. But then, GameCube comes along, Metroid Prime releases, and normally, I'm not a first person shooter kind of guy. So I see this and I'm thinking, it really doesn't look all that interesting. It's not gonna be, it's probably not gonna be for me. So I passed on it for a little bit. But then a friend of mine, who was a huge Metroid fan, convinced me that I had to try it. Had to try it. Give it a shot. Really, just explore this thing. And so I did. And I once I got past the initial awkwardness of the control scheme, I found that I actually enjoyed it. It was amazing. The graphics were fantastic. The gameplay was uh, intriguing. It was genuinely enjoyable to play. So that's where I was truly hooked by the Metroid series. I did play Super Metroid as well growing up, but like it didn't hold my attention to the point that Metroid Prime did. So I never really got super into the lore of Metroid until Metroid Prime. But from that moment on, I was hooked. I went back, I replayed the original. Uh, I don't think I had the second one for the longest time, so I didn't get a chance to play that. But I got Metroid Fusion, and I picked that up mostly because of the um, interconnectivity, the extra content you get by connecting to your GameCube with that. Because if you beat Metroid Fusion and you beat Metroid Prime, you unlock the ability to play the original Metroid, but you also unlock the ability to play through Metroid Prime in the Metroid Fusion suit. Now, it's a first person shooter, so there's not a whole lot of times where you see Samus, but like when you're entering and exiting save stations or coming in and out of morph ball mode, you get a good look at the fusion suit. And the fusion suit was pretty cool. I mean, it's different than the normal power suit that Samus wears throughout the rest of the game. But it's a very interesting design choice. Those of you who have played Metroid Dread, you kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about there. She's technically wearing the fusion suit. It's been given a bit of an upgrade, a little bit of a polish for Metroid Dread. Because a little bit of time has passed since Metroid Fusion, I think. Um, Yeah, things are a little different. But the reason why her suit looks different in Dread than what most people probably think of when they think of Samus from like Smash Brothers and whatnot is you're seeing the fusion suit. You're not seeing the power suit that she has in the Smash Brothers games and all the other titles. So that's what's going on there. Um, but we'll explore that franchise. Don't worry. Y'all get to see all that, how it all plays out, the development of Samus's character. Uh, just ignore everything you've seen in Metroid Other M. You'll be fine. You'll understand plenty without it. Um, Tuesday hopefully is going to be another podcast. Still trying to work with Zeph as far as figuring out when a good time will be, because we've been having some trouble with getting a decent schedule going. It's been real hit or miss. Either I'll be out with a cold, or she'll be suffering with a migraine, or, you know, something. But what seems to work best for her is going to be late evening recording sessions, which is fine. I can work around whatever schedule for that. The only thing is my kid will probably be chattering away in the background occasionally. That's fine. He's adorable. I just hope that the viewers don't find it too distracting. Or the listeners, I guess. It's a podcast. It's more of an audio format. And we're currently recording it in a video format, but it's intended to be audio. And at some point I do plan to strip out the audio tracks, put them in an MP3, and upload them somewhere. Still working on finding a hosting platform for the podcast. I'm probably just going to do my own, but I have to figure out how to set up an RSS feed for that, because my website is a blog, and the current RSS feed that it's managing is for everything, but I want one that's just for the podcast, but I want it to not have to be a separate site by itself, that kind of thing. So, I'm working on that. I'll get that sorted out and dealt with at some point, probably. But next week, we will be back to this, much as I wanted to get onto JavaScript and whatnot. I do want to take a stab at cleaning this up. Or maybe we don't. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. I might just be like, heck with it. Let's do some JavaScript. But there will be a coding session. So, you know, tune in next week for that. So that's what's coming up. That's what we got going on. Thank you all for watching. I hope this has been informative, even though I know it's been not exactly up to par with even my normal standards. My normal standards being as lackluster as they are. But today's a weird day. Got off to a late start. Trying to get back on track with what I have left of the day. But yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll see what's going on. And till tomorrow. You have a great one. Bye.